Life is
Yeah,
good.
everything's good, man. Just taking it easy.
That's what's up.
Always trying to do some more uploads, get some more beats out there and stuff.
Okay, babe, you got the fan on? Okay, my bad, my bad. So let me go ahead and hit the spammy spam.
Mm-hmm. Everything.
All right. There we go. Okay, cool, cool. I got my man Tony Anthems in the building, brother. Shout
Yes,
yourself
sir.
out.
Yeah,
Toot your
man.
horn,
Tony
because I
Anthem.
can't do it better than you.
Well, me, man. I'm just an underground cat. You know what I'm saying? Just underground with it. Always been. TonyAnthems.com is the website. I have quite a few of our beats. Have some merch, and also services. A&R consulting. People can hit me up, and I do our consultations on their music or their project and things of that nature. Yeah.
So business is good.
Well, business is business. You know what I'm saying? I'm an underground cat, so I always appreciate the small um client base, because you have repeat clients, or
Mhm.
there's people that I've been working with for over a decade that'll come back and render some services for them and things of that nature.
Okay, okay.
Um 9 Milli is one of them. He has a project coming out. He's been doing pretty good. He's based out of Texas, but he's from the Bronx originally. I was working with him. I believe I did his first mixtape when he was 19,
Okay.
and now he's in his 30s. So yeah, underground shit though. Um,
Yeah, yeah. How do we get here? What led you down this path? Were you a child of a musician? Parents was like, nah, I want you to do this. How did your path? How did you embark on your path?
well, as far as music, since I can remember, my dad got me a guitar for my 5th birthday, and then I remember in 2nd grade I started playing trumpet, and I played like in the Westchester County Orchestra and stuff. So I played trumpet from like think 2nd grade to about 7th grade or so, something like to that effect. So as far as like the music background, kind of um, learning it, just kind of through, like when you have a kid and you want your kid to kind of get into extracurricular activities. So some of it was that, but then once I got about 12 years old, that's when I got into DJing because I was working at this place called the Akbar Center for the Arts. It was an art gallery. My first job, I think I was about like 11, 12 years old. I started working as a janitor part time after school and shit. So it being an art gallery, they had events there. They used to rent out the hall on the 2nd floor where they'll have like parties and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was so on the weekend sometimes I work there to clean up after the guests and things of that nature, whatever the case is. But I was always like a little kind of little DJ, and then I had an opportunity where one of the DJs didn't show up, and then I end up entertaining a crowd of 30 and ups, like 30, 40 years old, playing Before I Let Go, doom, doom,
Yeah.
doom, doom. You know what I'm saying? I was
Yeah.
doing all this is probably like in '87 or some shit like that. So that was kind of like just kind of things that kind of happened by accident in a sense. But as far as getting into production, I didn't get into I used to rap when I was like high school, ninth grade, shit like that. And then just the frustration of being in the studio, sitting on the black leather couch, waiting for your turn, and the sessions, you don't get your slot time. So then
Yeah.
eventually, that's how I got into becoming a producer. You know what I'm saying? So once I was about for my 18th birthday, 17th, 18th birthday, my mom had bought me a she invested some thousands to get me the Korg X3, the 4 track, and
Okay.
everything, the whole setup,
Okay.
and that's how I really got into it. Just it was an effort to get me out of trouble because when I was a teenager, I was kind of wilding out a little bit, so that was her way of kind of getting me off the streets, and I was more in the house now at that point.
Shout out to moms. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, God bless.
let me ask you this. The state of production. You've seen it come from the SP 1200 to the SP to the MPC to the machine to. Do you like where it's going? Do you like that it's so easy now for young guys to come in and just the Fruity Loops, Cubase? I remember us old heads was like, "What is the fuck is this? This is
Oh man, that's the Fruity Loops. It's funny. I got fruit. I never used it. I still I have the newest one in my computer, but just never use it. It's just like ugh. because I'm so used to using machines and everything like that. Like I said, my first joint was a Korg X3. This was 1994. Uh, Korg X3, that sound is kind of like the RZA sound a little bit,
Yes.
those
Yes.
keys and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And then the Triton, of course, later on down the line, that's the Swiss Beats. Pharrell, then he done used
Listen,
every patch.
when the Triton hit, you weren't a producer if you didn't have that. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
that was necessary. Shit, I think I got like my not my first placement, but I got my fastest placement off the Triton. I was very angry one day, and I made one of those angry beats,
Yeah.
and dude walked in the studio, was like, and bought the beat on the spot, 15 quick little 1500,
Yeah.
copped the joint on the spot. Yeah, it was funny, but yeah, I say yeah, the barriers to entry are a lot less financially. Anyone could go get a laptop, get some Fruity Loops and get going.
Hmm.
Um, Pros and cons. I'll say the pros of that is, if you have a little hard-headed nephew, you can kind of get him out of trouble, like get him busy on something. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Real easy, real quick. Like for example, my nephew, one of my nephews for his birthday, I got him a little Mac Mini computer and a
Okay.
little MIDI keyboard. He started making techno music like instantly. You know what I'm saying? But the cons of it is because it makes the game a little bit more saturated and it devalues the price point, I'll say. Because you have a lot of leases that are like 20, 30, $40. Back when I was coming up, you could be an unknown producer and you get a cat from Texas that'll give you 3,500.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With no name. You're a no namer getting 3,500
Yeah.
back in those days. Because back in the 90s, it was the barriers to entry. That Ampex 2-inch tape was like a couple of $100. Plus the session. It was a lot of money to get a song done back in those days. But the music back then, I say it was more classic because it took a lot more of an effort. So I think creatively, I think it was. Um, Now it's so microwave. Songs just fly by night. So many songs that you're not going to really remember anything as a classic. Here today, gone tomorrow. Kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas now, if you hear "Summertime" from Fresh Prince, that's a classic. You think about a barbecue. That it brings a memory of something of some sort. It meant something for a certain time period, which is different, much different now. You know.
Do do you try to impart? Okay, we agree that music theory is tantamount to to one becoming, a producer per se, as opposed to a beat maker. Do
Right.
you find yourself trying to impart that on into younger producers you come across, or is it more like, you know what, they're not gonna get it? Maybe just let them come when they're ready to embrace the next level of their production skills, or no?
Oh yeah, because the thing is, I started doing loop packs, like loop kits and everything like that. And the purpose of me doing that was for the younger people, especially people who are getting into Fruity Loops, where they'll do a loop before they actually play a melody.
Yep.
So now, with my loop kits, I always include the key. So if it's in the key of E minor, if it's a 126 tempo, and I include that in the file so that way they can go ahead and say, okay, it's in the key of E minor. So now they could take that loop, start off their beat just to get a starting point, and then they can start adding keys of E minor for the bass and for everything else around it, the melody, the harmony, everything else, and try to build around it. So I think music theory is good because it's always good I like to dress up the sample because I didn't start off really as a sampling producer. I started off with the Korg X3 making melodies from scratch and everything. But I feel that sampling, the genius of sampling is really adding the subtle sounds around the sample to make it feel like the sounds were originally part of the piece. You know.
How okay? So if you had to put a percentage of samples that you use or you do, is less
Mhm.
than 10%, 5%, 20%?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely less than 20% of the time.
Okay,
So,
so you
or
don't
20% of the beat. You mean of the beat or of the time?
both.
Both. I'll say 20. Yeah, 2020, definitely. Because if I use a sample, it might just be a voice sample or like a phrase, or it might just be a guitar loop, a guitar piece, and then I'll dress the guitar and I'll add piano, add everything else around it, bass and everything else.
Do you feel that production has gotten away from samples? If you believe that, is that a good thing, as opposed to, already built in, like you said, loop packs and things of that nature?
Hmm. I think now, I think with the sam, I think with it not having a lot of samples can be a good thing, but then sometimes there's a thin line between original and whack.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel that sometimes when people will do melodies from scratch, I feel sometimes the music could sound too electronic. It could be too electronic. I think sometimes samples could get you into some lo-fi, get you into some original like the Rhodes keys and some of these other sounds and organs and stuff that are more organic to give the sound that layer and that richness, that warmth to it. You know, sometimes, for example, trap music. There's a lot of dope trap beats. Some of my favorite beats, and actually some of my most fun beats to make are trap beats. But then there's some of them that are just too electronic. You know, it just doesn't. You know, it takes away from the authenticity of the sound, I think.
Well, let me ask you: is that an element that you think turns off a lot of old heads with the trap beats per se?
I would say though, I would say that definitely the synth sounds and claps. You know, as an old head, sometimes we don't want to hear a bunch of too many claps. We like more thicker snare drums. But the thing that's attractive about trap music is the 808s. You know that the 808s and those kick drums and everything. But there's also trap where like Metro Boomin, he would sample. He would take a sample like that joint from Future. I don't chase chicks. I chase a check. I never chase a bitch. That joint
Yeah, yeah,
with the flute.
yeah.
That flute is phenomenal. So he's able to merge. I like the hybrid. When I taking some trap drum pattern, but having like a ill sample to it.
Let
And
me.
some of these kids are sampling '90s music too.
I've noticed that. I've noticed
Hmm.
that, and I'm glad to see it. I mean, if you're gonna do it, I mean, what better genre or decade to sample from? Let me ask you this: how important is it to you that the producer need to learn how to know to read music per se?
Um, as a producer, it may not be necessary because as a producer, you're basically putting together a vision of what you sonically think should be put together, whether it be a sample, and then you get a guy from down the street to play bass guitar over that sample. Then you might get another person. But as a role of a producer, I would say because basically it's the meeting of the minds, more or less. But as far as from a creative's perspective, I think it never hurts to learn how to read music. I took music theory. I went to school for music. I got was like a certification in audio engineering and things of that nature. Um, I think if you're going to be a serious musician, you should put a little theory behind it, some education and some effort behind it, especially if you want to have a career. Whereas you might be wearing a couple of hats, and I think learning how to read music is very important. Because I feel it just takes your creativity to a whole other level. And then on top of that, you could replay samples. It might be something that you may want to sample, and you could replay it, and then you could probably get around some of the clearances and things of that nature.
Let me ask you this: can you put into words how much music theory has helped your sound and your creativity? Can you explain to somebody that doesn't, to a producer that doesn't know music theory, right? That just strictly
Hmm.
Cubase and Fruity Loops. Could you explain it to that person and say, look, you need to learn this because in so many words, this is what you would learn or know. Could you put that into words to a regular, to a non-music theory producer?
Yeah, I think learning music theory and applying it for me, what it did for me was it allowed me to jump into different genres as far as doing things that are more jazzy, doing things that might be more blues based.
Mhm.
Um, and I think listening to different types of music always helps. But applying the music theory, I think it expands your sound to where you can do music for anything. Because right now I want to get into more film stuff. Between me and my co-producers, Brandon Chapper, shout out to him. I do a lot of A&R stuff for him and some managerial kind of things. But we work as co-producers under a brand called the Clef Lab. So I think music theory and what that allowed me to do was to be able to make music, get my music appreciated from different countries. Like when I come out with a loop pack or I do my uploads on Spotify and things of
Mhm.
that nature, I'll notice certain beats that appeal to like, Pakistan, India, certain places, because I might have used a particular type of sound, but I might have played it in maybe a gypsy scale.
I get you. Yeah, right. Yeah,
You see,
yeah.
so I think music theory does help because it helps you manipulate your sound and have an understanding of how far you can take it and what type of audience you want to reach at any particular time. Especially as far as being a producer, you never know. And see, me, my background is in audio engineer, so they go hand in hand. And as an audio engineer, I worked with someone recording a cello, recording a harp. I worked with a Caribbean steel drum band. I worked with a reggae band, hooking up, you know. So yeah, it's always, and then with that, you always get to understand the differences in the timbre of sounds and the different textures of the sounds and things of that nature. So yeah, music theory to me is very important and allowed me to kind of be able to sit and work with different types of people, different types of, genres and things of that nature. Because you can communicate with the musicians better.
Gotcha. Yeah, and like you said, it helps you to be able to deal with different genres of music. You can just weave in and out seamlessly and not have a dated sound. Or, I remember like when Swiss Beats would try to do other genres when before he, became a full body producer, you could still hear that it's like the very rudimentary same
Hmm.
slaps, the ASR 10 sounds like everybody and their mama used to use. That just, so
Right. True.
for me, I remember when new records came out, we would just pick apart sounds and see what instruments they use and see if we could pinpoint and pick out what synthesizers they use. Did you ever find yourself kind of picking apart another producer's work just to match yours to see where you're at against theirs at all, or do you still do that?
Yeah, I actually one of my the people I always looked up to was Pete Rock. We're from the same neighborhood, Mount Vernon, New York, and stuff
Okay,
like that.
okay,
And yeah, man. I remember his bass lines. I remember because in the early '90s, I didn't have a lot of exposure to sampling until I worked with different producers. Shout out to Melodramatic. I worked with him, and then that's how I got accustomed to working with the ASR 10. And then Lucky, this group from called Tongues in the Attic, their producer, I worked with him. That's how I got familiar with the SP12. And I could say Pete Rock was one of the that they really reminisce over you. Da-na-na, da-na-da.
mm-hmm.
That was one of the joints right there that got me actually into producing.
Okay,
So Q-Tip is another one. Um, the Low End Theory album was a deep inspiration, something I still reference to and listen to this day. There's just a lot of classic albums. Also, I like, and as far as producers, because I dissect and I always respect and listen to different. 40, the one that produces for Drake, I like his stuff.
okay.
I like his stuff. I like that sound, that muffled voices kind of joint. And then on top of that, but the thing about Drake, and I think the reason why he's so consistent is because he still works with 40. Even if he's working with another producer, 40 would be the engineer. So it'll still have that care and that sound, because they grew up together. Obviously, that it's a, you know,
Yeah, that's the element because he knows what it's just like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis without Janet Jackson. It's like with or Janet without
mm,
them. They know her. They know what fits with her. They know what to bring out. So yeah, I agree that 40 and Drake are just an unbeatable team at this point. They should never really not deviate from that too much.
right,
Yeah, I akin him to be like the Kevin Feige. Like he can bring in other producers to be like, look, this is what he needs, and this is
right,
how I see you fitting for him. Do you ever find yourself
right.
doing that for other artists, or if you're working with another producer per se at times?
Yeah, there's an artist I've been working with for a long time. We haven't done. I think the last placement I got with him was a few years ago. But this artist named Hostile, we actually, he's an artist. We started working. I think we were like 17. We met. I met him freestyling outside of Gun Hill Road. He had a black leather jacket on. That shit is crazy. So, he was freestyling crazy. I ended up being his producer. We did a gang of joints. We had an underground smash joint called the crime rate. In a 9-8, we raised the crime rate. That's just the Eden Wall mind state. We had a joint. We did an album called we dropped the album, I think it was 2003, 2004. It was in the stores too. Underground shit though.
Okay.
It was in Best Buy and shit like that. There's an album called Be Extra. We did a joint. Actually, we did a joint. Rest in peace to Guru from Gangstar. We did a joint with Guru. I got to meet DJ Premier in the studio. We worked with Heat Makers on that. Alchemist got a couple joints of Alchemist. Um, DJ Premier did a joint. So yeah, like underground shit, but um, that's an artist that I've definitely worked with for decades. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And just shows different little things that we and even on that production on that album, I think I only produced like one or two like two beats on that joint. Um, but yet and still, I would be the one always hosting the mixtapes, always putting it together, always doing the final edits and stuff like that. So definitely, because I know him, like you know what I'm saying. I know his personality, I know his sense of humor, I know the way he would emphasize,
Hmm.
his lyrics and things of that nature. So yeah, it works it works good. It's definitely a meticulous process.
Let me ask you this: the A&R aspect of it, in your eyes, how much has it changed, and has it changed for the better?
The A&R aspect, because it seems like they got kind of flushed out of the record companies in a sense. So now the A&R thing to me now is more of a hustle than anything. They would have a conference and they'll charge maybe $100 a head
Yeah.
to get people. You got to pay now to be seen. So
Yeah.
back in the days, it was more or less, a bunch of demos, and then you'll just be that lucky person to get a phone call or email or whatever the case may be. They'll actually seek you out for the talent that you have and have you come into the office or whatever the case may be. Now it's more like whoever can pay,
Hmm.
and I think it's a little bit disingenuous now. Um, Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect nowadays too, I would say. You know, even even the DJ, there's still a few DJs that break records, but it's very few DJs that actually break records that actually put somebody on. To like the job of a DJ is to put us on to some shit that we ain't never heard of, and then from that, based on the reaction of that, that's kind of catapults into the success of that they introduced. So that a little bit of that is missing because I think now because there's not too many barriers to entry. Anyone can get a song, they can upload it, get a DistroKid account, and get it on Spotify in minutes. So it's way different now. Like there's less, I guess, gatekeeping. I would say.
Which is going to lead to my next question because of the vastness of the internet. How much easier has it been in your eyes for producers to kind of get put on and get their works out there? Because back in the day, it used to be very cliquish and yeah, very gatekeepy. And if you weren't down with somebody's team and they couldn't vouch for you, more than likely you weren't not going to get in. So how much easier has it been because of the internet, SoundCloud, things of that nature for producers to get their works out there?
I think it's a lot easier now too, especially if a producer's willing to invest in himself, which most are because most of us paid tens of thousands of dollars just to get the equipment before we even started making a dollar back. But if a producer is willing to deal with people like let me see, is it Gumby Beats? I think it's Gumby. Can't remember off the top of my head, but he's a good guy to deal with as far as there's producers out there who have the sauce to get your stuff placed in because between me and Brandon, we got placements in like Love and Hip Hop LA, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, um, a couple other little TV shows and things of that nature. But really, what it's about now is buying the program. Like if you find someone who has a legit program like Gumby Beach or something like that, you might invest maybe 60, $100 into a program to where they can get you um certain lists and certain information, music supervisors and
Mm.
things of that nature to get your music in front of them. So you can kind of bypass what we would use the A&R for back in the day and just knowing the right producer or like me for instance, I had got a Soldier Boy placement because I did a collaboration. Me and my co-producer Brandon Chapel, we did a collaboration with MPC Cartel.
Okay.
So MPC Cartel, they have a gang of placements all over. Everybody from PB Longway to Migos to you name it, they have beats with them. So by me investing in myself and actually paying to do the collab with them, paying for the collaboration. Now I paid for the collab. We got the collab going. Okay. Now he's shopping the beats, and then the artist picks the beat that I happen to co-produce. So that's a way to kind of get your leg in also. But like I said, person has to be willing to invest a couple of dollars in themselves. in order to get with the right, attach yourself either to the right producer or the producer that has the right particular program that you can invest in to kind of get your music in front of the right people.
Let
And
me
that
ask
was
you
a
this: how much has the beat stealing or the track stealing has it how much has it been reduced by? Would you say, or has it
reduced.
been reduced? Because back in the days, it was,
Hmm.
God forbid, you sent your demo or your beat tape into somebody, and
Oh
it was
yeah.
a much bigger risk then. Has that risk been minimized in your eyes now, currently? Because I get it producers all the time. Yo, I'm scared to send my beats out because I'm scared it's going to get stolen.
Hmm.
What do you say
I
to
think
people like that?
I think it's easy not to get stolen now because now uh, publishing, doing your publishing, your copyright, you can do it all digital, but like instantly. You can so number one, copyright publish your shit before you even play it for your goddamn self,
Hmm.
much less anybody else. That's the first thing. And then secondly, with the internet, with social media, it's very much easier to call somebody out and be like, yo, this motherfucker stole my shit. And you could play the side by side, film it, have it
Yeah.
all on the TikTok. So now, that with that being said, it's easier for people to be like, you know what, it ain't even worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll get called out, and then on top of that, they could be financially responsible with a cease and desist if the person, did their due diligence on putting their music out properly.
Let
You
me
know,
ask you this. Should TV and film placements be the ultimate goal for, let's say, a hip hop producer? Or is everybody's goal different? Or would you say, you know what, if y'all should be trying to get here? Yes
yeah,
or
I
no?
think film and television should be the long term goal for a producer, especially someone like me. I'm 45 years old, so getting up there in age, I'm not willing to be in the studio till 3, 4 in the morning with a bunch of niggas doing 100 takes.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
not doing the shit I was doing when I was 22. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And plus it's fucking dangerous nowadays too. You got to be strapped nowadays. Motherfuckers is wilding. These rappers, that's a dangerous job. So I would say getting into TV, and that should be the long term goal, because just imagine the person that did the theme song for Seinfeld, and that shit is in syndication for years and decades to come. You got to think on that level, and then on top of that, to me, is quite flattering if you watch a movie like, say, like The Matrix, and then your keys and your fucking loop is being played in the scene where they're creeping up or
Hmm.
whatever, a
Hmm.
popular scene. I
Hmm.
mean, that's dope, because that, to me, that's something that means a lot more, as far as like having your shit just out there versus an artist who may never really get heard like that,
Okay.
or get looked over, you know.
Are the majority of hip hop producers small minded?
Hmm. Um, could be, because I'll say it's so many of them now, man. It's so many producers now. Um, Say may try to just get in. I mean, it kind of depends, because I think the barriers of entry is so easy now. It's kind of hard to really tell. Some people might just want to come in for a quick attempt to get in the bag, but they have to realize that in order for you to get a bag in the music game, you got to be a fucking, you got to have more tentacles than a spider, man. I mean,
Mm.
with me, for instance, like throughout my career, and I'm underground. I'm no one famous. I'm just an underground hustler. I mean, I did the audio engineering thing where I'm charging, 50 an hour for studio sessions, and I'm splitting it with a studio, splitting it with the house fee.
Mm.
Doing that, you got that hustle. You got I hosted mixtapes. Where I was charging $1,000 to host a mixtape for an artist, doing an artist tape where I'm doing a graphic design, I'm getting the duplication done, I'm the whole process. Then there's I used to DJ clubs, so I used to do the nightclub thing. You could get several $100s a night plus tips. You do that. Um, Selling beats. I mean, yeah, that comes and goes. That's a hit and miss kind of thing. So you got to kind of like be out there in the sense of to get to really, And then on top of that, man, shit. Me personally, I stay with some type of a 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? I stay
Okay.
with a gig.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because you might, if you want to have a 401k, you want to have a little pension at the end of the day, then shit, I advise you probably do that too. You
But
know,
I don't think most want to do that, right? Because in their minds,
mhm,
they're doing all this to get away from a 9 to 5. And I've had
true.
discussions with people where they deem it as a step backwards. And I would tell cats when we were signing them, like, yo, don't quit your day job. What for,
No,
nigga? I'm
don't.
signed. I got the advance. Like, what? What do you
No,
say to
see,
that?
like I'll say like a music producer, for instance, if you can get a job at a radio station,
Okay.
if you get a job at a university, I work at a school, but like if you get a job at a university, maybe working in that department, if you get your bachelor's, maybe you can teach a class.
Mm.
I mean, there's so many ways you can do it that kind of be relative. Um, if you're an audio engineer, you can do AV work. I've done AV work for some years, doing high end audio video installations for like, these $3 million apartments in Park Avenue. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't frown at 1,500 a week. You can make 1,500 a week working for a company. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Doing that type of stuff. Doing our technical work. Even if you do something in IT or engineering. I mean, like I say that, hey, keep your tentacles somewhere where you can get some money, but you're probably not straying too far away from your trade, where there's something kind of associated with it. You know.
Okay. So I want to kind of shift gears a bit. I kind of want to
Mhm.
talk hip hop as it stacks up against other genres of music.
Mhm.
Now, my opinion is my opinion. I want your opinion. How do you feel about hip hop, its production, musical output? How does it stack in your in the? I'm talking the best era of hip hop. Whatever 90s, 2000s, if you want to take whatever, and put it against the best eras of other genres of music. In your opinion, how does it stack up?
The best time in hip hop would be, man. I mean, the golden era was amazing. I would say. Then you have jazz, because hip hop borrows so much from different genres.
Now, is that a flaw?
I say, um, not really. I think, for instance, in my era, coming up in the '90s, we sampled a lot of soul records from the '70s, and then now you have this new generation. They're sampling R&B records from the '90s,
Hmm.
and they're flipping it into a trap way. So it's funny how it comes around full circle. Um, but I would say, hip hop's best era was a sample of probably R&B's best era. When you got Al Green, you got samples, some of the most popular samples. I think the best times in hip hop is actually Photoshop, a snapshot of the '70s.
Okay.
I would say for the most part.
And that era, how would you put it? How would you think it would fare against, let's say, the 80s or disco or even the classic
Mhm.
rock era? How do you feel it
Mhm.
stacks up or it matches up in a head to head with those genres?
I think as far as popularity, I think shit, hip hop is so popular now. It's in commercials, jingles. I mean, I think hip hop has surpassed a lot of genres as far as the popularity of it. But because even rock now, they say rock is dead now. So this is, you know, um, yeah, I think hip hop is actually it embodied so many different genres. It embodied rock and it embodied blues, jazz, and it just kind of just morphed into something to where it's just going to keep going. Even though those genres might have faded down, I kind of feel they morphed into hip hop, and hip hop gave them kind of a new identity.
Okay, so it's the perfect almost amalgamation of all. It's the Bruce Lee of this shit. Take what doesn't work, but take what works and discard the rest, and you have this fluid genre of music per se that can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, that fourth time signature is popular cult. Yeah, I would say definitely.
Okay, okay. I want to talk producers, um,
Hmm.
mainly hip hop producers. Is Dr. Dre the best hip hop producer in your eyes?
Wow, I know he's a hell of an engineer for sure. He's
But
a
I
hell of
think
a
people get
producer.
that confused, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like I don't want to bring anybody else into it, but my rant about dudes saying
Hmm.
he's a best producer because of his sound is clean. I'm like, that's sound, that's
That
engineering,
sound right, right,
that's nothing to do with
exactly,
the actual production. It's an aspect of it, but doesn't
right.
necessarily make you the best producer.
Right,
So
because
no, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
no, because I'm thinking, oh, man, producer. I mean, shit, you could go Eric Sermon. He definitely contributed and had a lot of stuff going. I mean, shit,
Well, does Dre get too
Kanye.
much credit?
He gets a lot of credit. He gets a lot of credit because I think mainly because I think because scarcity creates value,
Okay.
and I think with that album that he's been promising us for so fucking long has made his value go up.
I don't think we're ever going to get the album, but would it even
You
matter
know,
at this point if we got
yeah,
that?
it's like the mystique that was created behind it. I think kind of gave him a little bit of a kind of a boogeyman kind of
Okay.
vibe, like you know what I'm saying? Like
Okay. Okay.
I think that kind of, but I wouldn't say he's the best. I wouldn't say he's the best producer. I wouldn't say that because DJ Quick got some. I mean, it's a lot of producers with so many different joints, but I would say Dilla. I mean, I got Pete Rock, Dilla, Eric Sermon. I mean, it's just so much out there. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The Roots, for instance. There's a song called "No Alibi" from the first album. I'm
I
not
know.
sure who made that beat,
I
but
know what you're talking
God,
about. Yeah.
that's one of my that was one of my favorite joints in '95.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, I'll say Dr. Dre saying he's the best. That's a stretch. That's definitely a little reach right there.
Outside of Dilla, Primo, Eric Sermon, who would you go with your next crop of producers after that?
Okay, I would definitely say Metro Boomin, TM88, definitely. Uh, let me see. Of course, 40. Um, yeah, 808 Mafia definitely has some fire, but I'll say TM88 is a definite. He's a unique producer. His sound design is crazy.
Hmm.
Um, and there's so much aspects. I feel a producer that has some sound design chops and some engineering chops could definitely manipulate his sound into whatever he wants it to be. And I
Hmm.
think he's one of those special producers, TM88.
Um,
Um,
which aspects of music production would you like to see come back? Or what trends
um,
are you seeing that you
mhm.
don't like that you would wish to go away?
um, Yo, that damn auto tune, man. I mean, it could be fire sometimes. Cause I ain't gonna lie, when I'm smoking on some Kush or something, and I'm in that vibe, I could go with it.
Yeah.
I like that one joint from it's called For the Night. I think that's the baby, little baby, and
Okay.
somebody else. Yeah, but it's a kind of like a love and hate thing with the auto tune, cause it be times I'm like, yeah, this shit is fire, but then it be times it's like everybody sounds the same.
Hmm.
But yeah, auto tune. eh, I'll say that's probably maybe one of the most love hate relationships I have with music
Hmm.
is the auto tune. As far as production is concerned, um, I don't know. I kind of the 808s. I like the 808s, but now I'm getting more into bass lines again. Like
Okay.
I'm even starting to make more bass lines. I think bass lines needs to come back a little bit because it gives that dimension of the melody and the bass. I just like the way it rolls around that sine bass sound.
So that once again, the theory, music theory comes back. It comes back home.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So, if you don't mind, what equipment are you working on these days? What's your go to piece of equipment?
Oh, the MPC X right here is definitely a go-to.
Okay.
Um, and I use the Arturia key step as my MIDI keyboard. I like it because it's semi-weighted, so it gives you a kind of a piano feel, but it's still compact. And then I have the Behringer. What is this? The M. Okay. Right, the Model D. I like the Model D. It's a synthesizer. It's a representation of the original Moog synthesizer.
Mhm.
So it's real good for making organs and bass and other good sounds and stuff. So for the sound design chops, that's definitely what I get into. Um, and as far as software, the MPC software, of course, Pro Tools is still it's definitely a go-to because it's very much user friendly. And in Logic, I like to use Logic for my arrangements.
Okay.
You know, to
Okay.
arrange the music. Mm.
Um, I'm a bit out the loop. Does anyone really still use a machine like that? Because I remember going to the conferences and the seminars when
Hmm.
they first introduced it, and it was all the rage, and
Right.
they were giving shit out like candy to everybody. Does anyone still use that? Because I can't find anyone that still uses the machine like that.
I haven't seen. I think shout out to DJ Big Dez out of VA. I believe he still uses the machine.
Okay.
I actually started with the machine when it first came out. I had got the machine. Also, I have a Miko LXD, but I'm doing surgery on that joint. I'm about to put a whole new motherboard and gut it out and everything. But
Okay.
that's a keyboard that Timbaland was endorsing some years ago, the Timbaland edition and things like that. It's a real good piece. But your question, I'm sorry.
Oh, does anyone are they still using the machine outside of?
Oh, machine, yeah, yeah. Machine is not as popular, but people they're still using it. Um, but the thing about the MPC, that swing is classic. I like that. The swing on the MPC is so much more different. It got that certain kind of sound to it.
Yeah,
But
it's
machine,
definitely survived the test of time without
yeah, it
question.
definitely did. It definitely did. But the machine definitely is something that kind of is taking the back seat for right now. I haven't seen too much or heard too much from it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Describe your creative process. What inspires you?
Hmm.
Are you the type to sometimes get up at 2, 3 in the morning, and because you
Hmm.
have an idea to get out? How do you process that? How does that work for you?
Okay. Sometimes I have a late night inspiration. Depends, and I'll work late night. Um, then there's times, well, during the day, if I'm cooking up during the day, what I do is I'll go, you know, I'll burn some weed. I'll smoke a little bit of weed, and then I'll go to the park and I'll shoot jump shots. I shoot like 100 jump shots, and then
Because I
I'm
follow you on
brainstorming.
IG and I'm like, why is he out here? Okay, that's it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna question it. So.
That's what my TikTok is called, music and basketball.
Okay.
Because basically, so I go out because dribbling the ball is like it's like a drum. You know what I'm saying? You dribbling the ball, it's a rhythm. Um, so I get to kind of like empty, kind of brainstorm, get a little inspiration, get my ideas, and then while I'm playing basketball, I'm listening to some of my favorite music.
Okay.
So that's the process of me kind of soaking up some dope music, shooting baskets, timing, coordination. If I play a pickup game with the youngsters, I drop a little 18 points on them and shit like that. I feel, then I go
Hmm.
home, shower, whatever, and then I'll get into a creative process where I start working the music. And then when I start working on the music, um, a lot of times, I'll just go in and listen to a lot of probably like some throwback. There's actually a VST called Arcade, where I'll go through there and I'll listen to like a bunch of previews of different kits and stuff like that, and then I'll go in there and then I'll start maybe finding like a guitar or something I want to try to use, and I'll chop up, manipulate, and I'll start working my chops from there.
Hmm.
And then from there, once I start getting my melodies and everything together in the MPC, then from there I'll take those files and I'll go into Logic, and then I'll arrange everything into how I want the chorus and the verse and everything to coincide with each other. And then from there, I'll go to Pro Tools and do a mix master. And then from that, I'll publish and then upload.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Tell me how it felt when you scored your first placement.
Wow, my first placement, I think I was, what was I, 19? All right, so Smooth the Hustler was a rapper back in the 90s.
Oh, say no
This is
more.
around.
We know who's smooth and trigger. We
Yeah,
remember broken English. All right.
yeah, that shit was fire. Yeah, that style was crazy. So I had got a remix. Shout out to Dante Ross. He's an A&R at Def Jam at the time, and shout out to Swigger, formerly known as L Swift Natural Elements, back in the mid '90s. It was an underground group. He brought me to Def Jam. He had to handle some business with them because at the time I believe he was signing Tommy Boy, and he sat me down, and so I'm in the office with Dante Ross. He's a legendary A&R for those who are in the loop and know who he is. So I'm in his office and everything, and then I had a beat tape. This when we had cassette tapes. Had about like 20 beats on the joint. So after my boy handled his business, he said, "Yo, my boy Tone, he got some joints. You want to play for you?" So I handle the tape. He puts the tape in the tape deck. We smoking the blunt and shit. and he plays like literally 5 seconds of every beat. Like he plays 5 seconds, skips 5 seconds, skips then he gets to like the fifth beat, and then he just frowns his face. So you see the wrinkle on his forehead. And he goes in his drawer, pulls out a dat, and just throws it at me. I need a remix by Monday morning. I was like, Psh. I was like, oh shit. I was like, I didn't have a dat machine, but I figured it out. I
Yeah.
was like, so I hustled up, went back to the hood, and started networking with cats and stuff, trying to get to a dat machine, I had finally got someone who could strip it down for me,
Okay.
and then I was able to put it together. Yeah, so that was my first placement, like remix. It was an actual remix, a song with him and Case, the R&B singer Case. Smooth like that.
How hard was it? Because we always say that the first placement is always the hardest. How difficult was it for you to score that?
Man, when I say difficult, like I almost got the remix stolen from me. That's how difficult it was because I didn't have a DAT machine. So then you would have to literally let somebody get somebody to
Yeah, and
strip the
they could
DAT down
copy it
for you,
off,
and then
and
they could probably get the
that's right.
acapella and go ahead and try to, you know what I'm saying?
That's
So
right.
I had
Yeah.
to deal with that, and yeah, it was hard in that sense, the scramble because the thing about the music industry, you got one chance, and you know what I'm saying. So you got to perform. And I'll say with that, yeah. And then I was young, so back then I didn't really know about publishing and stuff. I was only 19. I didn't really know about the publishing on the
Okay.
back end and anything like that. So
Okay.
that's the hard part about it.
How hard was it to get your first TV placement, and what was that feeling like?
Oh, the first TV placement, I would say, man, I would probably have to be basketball, high school basketball. I think it's highlights or something like that. That wasn't that wasn't that difficult because at that point I had a little bit more connections. So then
Hmm.
I was able to the individual that uh was a producer. Well, he's actually the videographer. He liked my music and stuff like that. So then he suggested and say, hey, we can use this, that, and the third with his chain of command superiors or whoever. And then he was able to get my music placed into like not only the basketball stuff but just for Mount Vernon, New York, the Mount Vernon High School basketball team, which they just went undefeated. I think they just got the chip actually.
Nice.
They went undefeated. So yeah, I did and I DJ'd. I actually DJ'd for one of their basketball games years ago. So I kind of had like a little bit of relationship locally,
Hmm.
and it's my hood too. So and then so I was able to kind of get my uh, placed in the local TV there, and
Okay.
it felt good. It felt good actually. And some of the political stuff, and this is why I say it's always good to be versatile as a producer because I was able to get my music on the trap stuff, was able to get on the basketball highlights, and then my more jazzier stuff was able to get into like the political arena,
Nice.
commercials and stuff like that. Some of
Okay.
the school commercials. Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you, how do you feel about all of these legendary, iconic artists selling their publishing, their masters, the royalties, knowing how hard it is that you've had to work to keep and fight and scrap to get yours? How do you feel about that?
I feel that yeah, the publishing. I feel like your publishing is all right. So it's intellectual property. So I feel at some point in these people's career, they make a decision. They say, all right, well, some of them are up there in age,
Hmm.
so they may figure that depend on how they want to pass down their legacy, may or may not. But I see it as equity. That's like having a house that you bought in 1976 for $50,000, and now that house is worth $1 million. So you're like, okay, I got about 900 and something thousand in equity. Let me go ahead and cash out. I feel it's like a cash out thing where they just want to, because your publishing is like that's your equity. So I feel they may get at a certain point in their career where they're better off just cashing out the money and doing something else versus, but that's a yeah. And then on top of that, I forgot how much years it was to go in the public domain. I think it's a particular amount of years after your death, I believe it is.
Yeah,
Or
I know that it went up a few years ago, but I ain't researched that shit in so long because they're
yeah, it's
always,
been a while.
yeah, they're always fighting to add more to it.
Right.
Because other people are trying to lower it so you can have access to it, but then other people are trying to raise it the number. Is that something you would ever do if the check is big enough?
If the check is big enough, would I ever do that? If I was to do that, I would have to use that money to transition into some a total different direction that could surpass.
Okay.
In other words, let's say I take that money and um I buy 20 acres of land and I develop a strip of condominiums that's mixed commercial and residential.
Hmm.
So therefore my I that'll last for generations. Then yeah, okay, I can see that. But just to do it just so I can get a Bentley and ride around with a new chain, I don't think that would be it'll make sense.
Okay. What are your thoughts when you see basically the major white artists selling out and the urban artists still hoarding on to theirs? Now, I'm
Hmm.
not saying the white man's ice is always colder, but I'm looking at the trends. I'm like, well, if they're getting rid of their stuff, should we follow suit? Because you Timberland sold some of his, the Dream
Hmm.
sold his, Babyface. So when you see moves like that made, uh, do you think regular urban artists should follow suit?
Um, I guess it could depend on because I have white friends, right? And right now my white friends, like Brandon, he's like, "Yo, bro, you got to get with these NFTs, man. I'm telling you, bro." And so it's like they'll put you onto some shit, and if you like, let me see, let me throw a little hundred at it or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes that shit do hit.
yeah, yeah,
They'll put you onto the Bitcoin when the shit was like $3 a coin,
yeah. Yeah.
shit like that. I'll say that as far as the color aspect of it. Um, so I would say the industry may be changing. Like I said, with this whole NFT thing, I think that might change the game a little bit on how money's made on the back end. I don't know if that may have something to do with it, but it seems to be like this virtual world. I don't know what's they're preparing for, but I could imagine that being something to do with it.
Okay,
As
okay.
far as them selling off their publishing, maybe they might be going because even with Snoop buying Death Row, I think he's into the NFT things now too,
Yeah.
where he's gonna kind of have that into like the NFT and how he's gonna, I guess, monetize off that. So it might be something there.
All right, so I want to read off a super chat real quick before we get to our final topic of the night. Necessary says, "Interesting guest, love the stories." Thank you, dear. All right, so
Appreciate
let's
it.
let's totally shift gears now.
Hmm.
You, sir, you see things. You're not in the eye of the storm. You see things because you go outside and you touch grass and you talk to people. Brother,
Right,
what
right.
what is your take on these niggas down the street?
So when you say the niggas down the street, is that a particular
The
sphere, a
manosphere,
sector?
yeah, this, yeah, yeah, the manosphere.
Because oh, okay, got you, got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit, because there's so many. It's some of them I check out. I find entertaining, and some of them might be some issues there. As far as all right, so as far as what in particular, as far as their
Are
view
are
on
are
the red
you
pill. Hmm.
okay? So are you are you shocked at some of the rhetoric and the belief systems that these men are saying online? Is like, are you taken aback? Like, are you scratching your head like, where's this coming from? I don't see this. Because I see
Yeah,
we be in
I
the
don't see it.
yeah.
I don't see. I think a lot of these dudes they get their narrative from the internet, so they live on the internet. So a lot of times they parrot things and experiences from other people without necessarily having those personal experiences themselves. I
Okay.
think, in a sense, which is why they need to actually go outside and meet people and interact so that they can have. Because I believe relationships are subjective. To based on those two people and how they get down, how two consenting adults decide to do their thing, and that's so relative to just so I can't really take a statistic and really measure that. I have to really kind of go off my own experiences more or less,
Hmm.
because that can be That very well the case, but depending on how you nurture your situation, your outcome could be very different than the average person, you know. So I
Do,
think a lot of times.
do you find yourself struggling to relate to them, to their narratives, talking points? Do you even or do you even sympathize, or can you empathize with some of these guys, and you know?
Yeah, the talking points, I would say, like, as far as the rejections, I don't. They shouldn't remember the rejections because rejection is inevitable. You should be so forward thinking that by the time you even realize you were rejected, you should be knee deep with the new bitch.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be. So I really can't understand how someone can harbor just such a disdain for such a long period of time, for decades. And you talking about guys in their 50s belly aching over shit that happened in 10th grade. It's just I don't get it. That part I don't understand that, you know.
Do you feel it adds to the negative image of black men, as if we don't already have Hollywood and what they do to us, and now you come online and you hear this? Now I'll be the first to admit that women are out of order. That's no argument there.
You're right.
But it seems that men have taken on the female attributes and have
Mhm.
decided to retaliate in woman-like ways when that's not how men counteract a woman's moves and motives. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think what it is the guys are too focused on the negative and the undesirable. Okay, so for instance, everybody has a type or someone or a preference that they focus on the actual preference and go for that. Because all right, let's say for instance, if you don't like women that are 300 pounds, fine. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to address them. You don't have to try to give them some type of rehab type of. They trying to rehabilitate fat bitches. They're like, bro, if you're not into fat broads, just move around and just
Right.
go talk to the slender joints. You know, the little petite or whatever. You know, why are you even spending time even arguing with these broads that you don't? I just don't see any point in that. And again, when you do that, you take your brain takes snapshots of what you don't desire and it
Mm,
puts it right back into your life because
mm.
you're so focused on that. Your energy system is so focused into that that you realizing like now you realize wondering why you keep attracting the type of chicks that you don't like because you're too focused on them. You
Uh,
know?
um, what are your okay? Let me. How can I ask this? What shapes or what has helped shaped your belief, your outlook on life? What do you attribute that to?
I think starting young. You know, as far as like okay, so as far as relationships, we should all have taken a crack at puppy love. You know, get your heart broke when you're in elementary. You know, get all that shit out the way early. Let you get your red pill early. Or whatever. Yeah, the red pill. Get all that stuff early. You know what I'm saying? So you can see what it is, and then you can focus on getting some money, getting a career.
Hmm.
So you're not in your. Because here's the thing. I think you should have these experiences, man. Like I just so because once you're a man of a certain age, your focus should be in areas that are not so trivial as to getting pussy. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's how I and yeah, I'll say starting young, getting some experience in traveling, getting out of the way. You know, I went to the military when I was 21.
Hmm.
Because after I got out of high school, you know, being around for a few years, I was like, let me see what else is out there, you know?
Okay. Okay.
And then that's how I was able to kind of get my experiences and have a worldview. Now, I would say, as far as it's quite embarrassing when you have you know, you got black dudes on here professing how like the white woman's ice is colder and all this type of shit. I need them to relax, okay? Because we've been smashing these white bitches since like junior high, and come on, man, we all had the slutty white girl who came to school with the sweater. And then she changed into the little slutty shit, and she's smoking cigarettes at recess. We
Yeah.
already know the little loose Italian bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man, you got to stop acting like this shit is some like new discovery type shit. It's like, bruh, it's embarrassing because now when I'm out and about, you know, I got these white bitches looking at me like I'm supposed to be sweating them because they
Uh.
thinking they seen all these black dudes online
Yeah.
sweating them and shit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So then now you making this shit awkward for brothers like me who don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got fat white bitches looking at me like what, you ain't gonna talk to me either? No, bitch. Nah, that's them niggas online. Chill out. Relax. You know what I'm saying? It's embarrassing, man. Like you dudes gotta stop. And with the traveling shit, acting like your passport, bruh, listen, anybody with $150 can get a fucking passport. It's not. I had a passport since I was 3 years old.
Hmm.
I done been to Trinidad, Barbados, everywhere you been there, done that. Listen, if your family cares about you, you're gonna have some type of family vacation at some point in your childhood. Okay, I'm very sorry for your luck, as you just got your passport at 42 years old. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry that you've just been embarked upon that experience. But
Hmm.
that's something that you should have been doing since you was a fucking baby, man. Since
Yeah.
you was a 5, 6, 7 year old kid, you should have been have stories about Barbados. Oh, my family went to that should just be some natural, regular shit. It's nothing like stop. And then it's like trying to make it seem like women from overseas are better than women in America. Listen, women will woman. That's what the fuck they do regardless of where you go. I don't care what race, what nationality, you're gonna have good, the bad, and the motherfucking ugly,
Hmm.
all in the same group. You know what I'm saying? So whether you go to the Caribbean, whether you go to Latin America, wherever you go, it's gonna be some ain't shit bitches there too.
Hmm.
So you still have to use your vetting. You still have to have discernment on however you move with these broads. Stop, because now shit, I done been to the DR. I done did all. I done had property. I done flipped land over there and everything. I've done that in the what is it, 2007, 2008, before this thing was even a thing,
Hmm.
and what I'm saying is it's embarrassing, fam, because now if I decide to go down there again, I got these bitches looking at me like I'm a walking lick,
Yeah.
and I'm not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like they have to realize going on the internet and saying all this, spewing all these things, you just gassing these bitches heads up for no reason. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Okay. No. Right on. Right on. Couldn't have said it any better. Let me ask you this: does hip hop age well?
As
And
far as like the older rappers,
I'm asking because watching the Super Bowl halftime show, I'm sorry, maybe I'm biased. I'd rather
right,
see 60-year-old white men with instruments.
right.
I don't want to see 50-year-old rappers crip walking. But maybe that's my
Oh
personal
man,
bias. So
it's true.
I'm asking you, does hip hop age well? Is it
Man,
strictly a young man's genre?
I think it's for the most part, it seems to be a young man's genre. Um, the only ones, I mean, the ones that really that go on stage and probably could still get a little props and shit. It's like maybe like a KRS One, even though he's old, he's still his show is still crazy. And people know he's old school, so they expect him to be old in a sense. But your mid level, I guess, like Snoop and them. Yeah, it's crazy because the showmanship you're saying, like the crip walking and everything like that, right? It's just, yeah,
What? Don't get me wrong, guys like
it's
Buster
hard, man, because those
50.
songs came out when they were young and they still got to
Yeah,
kind of have that.
yeah. It, it
Yeah.
it it hits it a little different. Like I said, I would go see Buster, 50,
Hmm.
60 years old, KRS-One, Kane, the greats
Right.
of the greater performers. I would go see them. I don't want to
Right.
see Snoop at 50, 60 years. I've seen him perform
Yeah.
before, and
Yeah. It's
he's not
different.
the best performer. Jay-Z's not the best performer. You
Right.
know,
He's not. He
it
even
seems
said it himself.
right. It seems to be more of that than your Busters, your KRSs.
It's
You
like
know what
the
I'm saying?
it's like the old guard, the old
Yeah,
gatekeepers coming out. Like,
yeah.
what happened to everybody else? I don't understand. You know, that's kind of odd. You're right though. It's the old gatekeepers that really just keep going. I don't see like, damn. Whatever happened to Souls of Mischief, man? They had that classic '93 till Infinity was my shit.
Still in my playlist.
That's
Still in
my
my
joint,
playlist.
man. That damn. But
The
yeah,
out,
it's so many that we don't see anymore, really.
yeah, the Outsiders from Jersey. Like I thought they were the
Oh
next.
wow,
They were supposed to be the
yeah,
next big group, after BCC and Wu Tang, and they just never.
right,
For Pace One, I used to hang out with him a few times before. So, and I thought he was stupid dope,
right,
but
right.
for whatever reason,
Hmm.
where do you see hip hop going? The future of production is going where? How?
I think the future production, I don't know. It seems to be going back to what boom bap a little bit. I'm seeing people are starting to appreciate lo-fi more. Um, and I noticed like my lo-fi beats been streaming a lot. Like, and it because I looked at the stream reports for like the month of February, I think it was. So I'm noticing. I see that. It's gonna. People want soul. People. I think people want a little bit more soul in the music now. It
Okay.
seems it's gonna go back to more soul, kind of boom bapish in that sense. Um, Trap will kind of have its place, but I see trap kind of taking a little bit of a slowdown. It's
Okay.
slowing down just a little bit.
I got a question from Mark Scales. He wants to know, what do you think about Biggie taking his style from Heavy D?
Hmm. The style, the rap style, is not really the rap style. I
Do you
don't.
even agree with that
Oh, oh,
statement?
I,
I
I
don't
think
put
Heavy
them.
D's style was a little bit more different than Biggie's
Yeah,
as far as the
Heavy
rapping's
D was
concerned.
the dancing big guy. Like I think that was
Right.
his lane per se. Like I don't think
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah. Unless he's talking about being the big ladies man, that
That,
image of the big ladies man. I mean, Heavy D was one of the pioneers of that. Um, I wouldn't say that. I would say Chubb Rock. Chubb Rock was somebody that Biggie
okay.
really, what I'm saying, kind of reminds me like the slight rasp in his voice a little bit. Chubb Rock, 1990, Chubb Rock jumps up on the
Want to
scene with the
sing
lean and a pocket full of
Color
green.
Green? Yes.
That kind of gives me party and bullshit vibes a little bit.
Yeah, I
You know what
remember
I'm saying?
the remix he did with the Sanford and Son sample. They chopped that up and the Chubster,
Hmm.
the remix, and I was like,
Oh
okay,
wow.
yes,
I had that. I
yes.
had that. I had that on vinyl, I believe.
Did you? Okay, I had the
Yeah.
maxi single. I was all about the maxi singles. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think because I know I had the album. I know I had a few albums on vinyl back then too. Like I was a collector back in those days. But yeah. Yeah. I don't think he took Heavy D's style in that sense as far as sonically. Unless you Blue Funk, the Blue Funk album from Heavy D.
I think that was his best
Then
album.
Biggie had Machine Gun Funk. Mm, I don't know if you want to say maybe in concept. No, I don't really see it too much.
Hmm.
You know. He.
Um,
Mhm.
as you grow and continue to prosper, do you see yourself ever pretty much branching out into other genres of music and kind of putting hip hop to the side, you know, moving forward? Say if you end up getting, like you said, how you got a placement for political ads and things of that nature. Do you ever see a time where you say, you know what, hip hop, I've outgrown it. I need to let me go on over here with the other side.
It would be shit. It would probably be jazz. I don't know.
Okay.
I see myself being a old dude getting into like a jazz band or some shit. Some
Okay.
old,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? Or yeah, I see jazz or maybe blues or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Just sitting around playing fucking guitar all day with the old cats, smoking joints and shit like that.
Well, I was gonna say like, um, you're very reserved, man. You're just so chill. Like, what is that? Where does that come from? Is that just age and wisdom, and you just learn not to only worry about things that you can control? Because I mean, you're like the producer I would expect, like that's just in the dungeon 12 hours a day, and it's like I've got the fire, and he's always down there working. Where's homie? Yeah, he down there working. Like you're so reserved. I mean that as a compliment. Like you're just
Hmm.
very even keeled. Is that just how you live life? Like you know?
Yeah, definitely. I have a military background. I used to be in the army. Um, so I have a certain appreciation for life in a sense where I've done been in struggles where you got 90 pounds of gear on your back and you're walking 22 miles and shit like that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have an appreciation for the simple things for one, and yeah, I would say that definitely comes with age, and I say it comes with that, and being I'll say being in a serious relationship also. It allows you to have a certain temperament of relaxation and just focus. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Because you're not spinning plates and texting a bunch of broads and like, yo, well, you gonna be, I'm gonna call you back, and doing all that other extra shit. You
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
gotta more relax. You know it's there when you want it, and then you can focus on other shit. So I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Cool. Cool. Well, um, I'm not gonna hold you. I'm curious. Who all have you worked with, or do you remember all the people you come in contact with?
Yeah. In the beginning, let me see. Before Bad Boy, DJ Premier, met him in the studio. Cause he did a joint for my artist Hostile. Um, Guru, which was a real cool cat. God bless his soul. Got to hang with him. We did the session. He did his shit in one take, and then we went to the club after that.
Nice.
um, yeah, he was a cool dude, man. Very down to earth guy. I would say, and then working at Bad Boy, I worked alongside Mario Winans, doing his setups and everything for his sessions. I was his assistant, working with him in the studio. I got to learn a lot about production, observing him. Um, Doe Fat, this is another one, man. His drums, he'll spend 2 3 hours on drums.
Mm.
I learned a lot observing him. Who else? Ran into a few people. I say working at Bad Boy, I probably met a lot of different people from like in passing. But then you had Danny D. Kane, you had Kanye, Little Kim, Nas, whoever came through that studio, because that studio, Daddy's House Recording Studio at the time, was a studio because Diddy had his hands in everything,
Yeah.
executive producing, Nicki Minaj, Rick Ross, different types of things. So you had different artists coming through there. Um, but yeah, definitely, I'll say working with Mario Winans was one of the good experience as far as getting to really understand production and the importance of all them damn keyboards he had, shit like that.
Well, let me ask you this: does Bad Boy get a bad rep? Because you worked there, you've seen the culture, you've seen how the business it was implemented.
Hmm.
Do they? Is it over the top, the bad rap that the label gets, has the dark cloud per se, or you didn't see all that to be like, well, yeah, no. I mean, you had a pretty positive experience. I'm assuming working there, correct?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would say I was working in the A&R department, which was a studio, Daddy's House Recording Studio. The label was about 10 blocks away on 55th, 54th, somewhere around there. We was on 44th and 8th. So a lot of the label dealings was at the other location. So it wasn't really a lot of politics where I was at, for the most part. Um, it's just funny how I don't know. Everybody just has one album that ever been signed there. Mostly is
Hmm.
what I noticed. You know. But as far as business wise, shit, yeah, I don't know,
That's
man.
okay.
Like
That's okay.
them, yeah, them contracts. I don't know, man. The publishing, it's kind of weird. I mean, like I said, it's like a one off. You get your one off. I think the way Diddy works is you get your one off, and you got to figure it out from there.
Well, isn't
It's
that
just like a,
well,
you
isn't
know,
that how it's supposed to be? The label is a launching pad for you, and what you
right,
do with it after that, they put you in a position to win. Now, if
right, right.
it
Like me, when I was working, I was an intern. I started off interning there, and at the time I was a mixtape DJ. So this is when I had on my mixtapes all in the streets in New York City. If you're familiar with like DJ Clue, DJ K Slay, stuff
SNS,
like that.
all those guys,
Right,
do wop,
SNS.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so I had my joints out there too. So working there gave me an advantage. So I was able to get exclusives. I even did like two mixtapes with Bad Boy
Okay.
actually, but I was able to get songs and freestyles and exclusives. So it kind of worked to my advantage. But I would say, man, overall, whoever has a chance to be even around the business acumen of a Diddy should take notes and apply that to their bag. I would say I wouldn't say rely on that to be a long term plan, but get enough nuggets out of it so that you can add it to whatever you got going on and take it and move.
So is it fair to place a certain amount of blame on the artist? Because I tend to do so. I'm like, look, they put you in a position. Your job is to learn it. They're not going to just
Right.
sit you down and be like the ABCs 1 2 3. You have to go out. You got to go to these people and be like, bug them. Like, yo, look, I want to learn, help. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's too easy to blame a guy like Diddy.
Right. It says too easy. And then you gotta understand the business, it's not his job to really do your business.
Right.
A businessman's job is always going to be to have leverage over. And so, I mean, yeah, fair exchange, no robbery. But this is the music business. There's
Yeah.
always going to be some type of leverage on the person that's really investing money into you. They gotta if they invest let's say 100 grand into you, they're gonna want to at least see 1 million off that, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's gonna definitely gonna play the leverage game when it comes to the music business. You
Have
know,
you had contracts where you just said no?
I've never. The funny thing is, from my experience in the industry, I've always been a independent, an independent cat, underground, independent. But I've never had like an offer for a actual production deal.
Okay.
And I've never really had an interest in that because I always like creative control and I always like to own 100% of my publishing, even if I'm not making a whole lot of money on it.
Mm,
It doesn't matter because I see a musician is probably gonna make more money after death than they do in their actual life. You know,
right.
people are not gonna really, you know. So I always like to have control over that. Um, and I'm a type of guy. I like to have a free schedule, man. You know, I don't want to be a slave to the rhythm. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't really have that. I never really had like an interest to really be mainstream or anything like that.
It's interesting you say that. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think people really understand how powerful the allure of mainstream access or success or just the chance of it is. Could you put that into
Mhm.
words for the layman people out there?
Mhm.
Because I tell people they don't understand that having your name in lights will draw you, will make you do things that you. Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, I see like going mainstream. I see that as you obviously compromising definitely some of your intellectual property, if not all of it. Um, and then of course you're not going to be able to express yourself the way you want because you got the alphabet communities, you got like you know the social justice warriors,
Yeah.
you know, you have sponsors now and you don't want to get, you know, so it's like yeah, it's kind of like a game of you know, you really got to know what you're getting into. And then on top of that, um being mainstream, then you're gonna have to deal with. I mean, you're gonna probably need some type of security. I would imagine. So you know, because you're moving around. You know, you don't know what type of crazy people are out there. So it's a lot that comes with that. I would say. You
Would
know.
you say that those that chase fame have validation issues to a certain extent? Right, and they have voids they're trying to fill. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that if someone who's chasing fame is definitely looking for some sort of validation because they want the fame even if it's to their detriment, you know, or even if it works against them, they just don't care. You know, it's just like a chick who wants attention, and even if she's out there bad, as long as she gets attention, like on the back end, she doesn't care. It's like almost like a chick who does. It's like a false allegation, or what's that chick from Martin
Atisha
Tisha Campbell?
Campbell.
Right. So it's like, you know, it's like someone saying, "Oh, they try to kidnap me," da, 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 da. Even though you're gonna look like a whole idiot,
Yeah.
you know, the attention is almost outweighs the cost of them looking like a fucking fool, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So I think that people that chase fame is kind of like that, almost that same type of thing, you know. They're willing to just because you know the deaths in hip hop these days, you kind of wonder like, bruh, it's a little much.
Well, if you don't
Like,
mind touching on that, what are your thoughts
mhm.
on? Is it just maybe it's being sensationalized because instant media access, or
Mhm.
you know, do we
I
go
don't
with
know because I'm
Cameron
looking
like
at
niggas die every day,
Empire
B?
Records. Fucking Empire Records, their whole roster, damn. I'm like, what's going on, B? Like, so then I'm starting to think, okay, is it, you know, people saying it might be some kind of life insurance thing, and then people might say you know, it might be, you know, it might be the some gematria shit. I mean, it could be so many different, you know,
Well,
or it could be, yeah.
I dumb it down. Like if I want to take
Mhm.
an artist that comes from an at-risk environment, has a lives a lifestyle that puts him at risk, and I'm going to invest time and money into this guy. He's talented, but yeah, why would I not? You
Mhm.
know, if I tell you, hey,
Right.
don't leave the guns and drugs alone. I can't, bro. You know, we've all come across those types, so I
Right.
can't fault a business. You know, it's like
Right.
the
To have
bad little
that,
cousin, and the auntie puts the
protect the
cousin.
investment.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I mean that's how. Yeah, that is business at the end of the day, and then that's how I see it. And then with them, like I said, it's a dangerous job. You got the money phone. You got like $10,000 in your hand right here. You live on Instagram. Your location is says the Rupp Arena downtown or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So now the goons they can come get you so easy. Is so you never. And then on top of that, you gotta realize this too. These guys could still be messing with some chicks in the hood. Who have the crazy baby daddy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And shit just happens. Get ran down on or whatever the case may be. Unfortunate situations. And then, like I said, a lot of these situations too. Well, some of them, it's like they were either dating some type of chick or or something. Or a lot of these chicks are connected to maybe not the most desirable motherfuckers. So you got to be careful. You know what I'm saying? Gotta
Yeah.
be careful because just through conversation, she could be like, "Oh yeah, I've been to his crib. Oh, he got this, that, and just having casual conversation." The motherfucker, "Oh word, the way you say he's where in Brooklyn Avenue? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. All right, well, what time you go to work?
Yeah.
Shit, they have your whole layout. You know what I'm saying? They go right to you know what I'm saying. It's too easy nowadays, man.
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
that's got to be careful.
Well, my man, Tony Anthems. Shout yourself out. Where can everybody find you?
Definitely. My website is TonyAnthems.com. And if you go into YouTube and you type in Tony Anthems, you're gonna find my YouTube page. You're gonna probably find some of my beats and loops, and my artist page where you can you can get all my beats and everything like that. You can download them, stream them. Yeah, let's do that. Put that 10 cents in there. I'm not monetized on YouTube through my YouTube, but I am monetized through my music. So every time you play the beat, that little ad money, that shit adds up, man.
Well, final question. How do you feel about streaming? Even it's probably the worst payout. I think it's worse.
Oh man, it's the worst. The best time for me was as a DJ was the mixtape era.
Okay.
I was man, like you talking about 100 racks a year, easy.
Because that was direct to consumer, or you had
Right,
consignment and
yeah,
okay.
yep, consignment, a little bit of both because living in the New York City area, you have 5 boroughs, so you drop a tape and you just go. I'll start where I'm at. I was at 241st Street in the Bronx. I'll start there and I'll work my way from Bronx to Harlem,
Mhm.
from Harlem to down all the way downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn, and then I'll hop over to Queens, then go all the way around. And then you talking about you done moved 1,000 units within 24 hours.
Gotcha.
You
Nice.
know,
Nice.
so but it's different now with the downloads and the streams. It's just like you're gonna have to put money into that advertisement to really get your shit kicking. That ad
Basically,
money.
yeah. I'm hoping one day the payout. It's paltry. It doesn't even describe the streaming payout rates, and they fighting to keep that shit low and want to reduce it. And I'm just like, jeez,
Yeah,
peace.
it's crazy, man. It's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, my man Tony Anthony, bro. Once again, I'm apologize to everybody. I should have had him on months ago. I didn't put the two and two together, brother. So
Now I appreciate you sharing the platform, man. It's an honor,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So definitely, man. I wish you much continued success. I definitely want to bring you back on and we talk more hip hop, more music, things of that nature, man.
Definitely.
Because people like the war stories, and you got war stories, and I respect your opinions and your take on things. Because like motherfuckers was giving me hell about this music theory shit. I'm like, y'all don't understand. Like music theory is everything. Like it's
Oh
everything.
yeah. That shit
So
helps. That shit helps.
yeah. So with that being said, my man, I want to thank you. Thank you for your time and energy, brother. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. And
Likewise.
definitely will bring you back. So
Definitely appreciate that.
my man, you have a good night.
All right, you too, man. Peace to
Yes,
everybody on the platform.
sir. Yes, sir. Yo, that was my man Tony Anthems with a Z. YouTube, IG, all that good stuff. Thank everybody for hanging out. Hopefully, got some out of it. Yeah, so I definitely will be bringing on more people to interview and things of that nature. I think that's what I'm gonna pretty much focus on, just live streams and interviews.